Greetings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in for another short little segment of Georgia Public Radio. It is a cloudy afternoon, as it was cloudy and rainy all weekend here in southeast Georgia. Man, did I get rained on a lot. I went out to a wildlife management area for some public hunting, and I saw 0 deer and 0 pigs, but that's okay. I saw a turkey. She was beautiful, not in season. I saw a rattlesnake. He was scary, but I left him be. Then all the butterflies and insects and bees and stuff just flying around were all very nice to see. But man, did I get rained on out there. But it was a crazy weekend. Continued protests and strikes over in Europe for the people of Palestine. Another, I guess, fleet of ships, really just sailboats trying to get aid out to Gaza to do what they need to do for this flotilla. Israel continues its war crimes. Hamas has agreed, or at least partially agreed, as far as I'm aware, to the Trump ceasefire and peace plan for Palestine and Israel. It's just crazy. And we continue to see crazy gains in the stock market. I think the Dow's down, though. It just feels like there's just a bubble about to pop. I don't know. It just feels very uneasy. It feels like the stock market does not match the actual economy. By the actual economy, I mean, the economic choices that you and me make every day. I make what feels like, or what should feel like good money, and it doesn't feel like it every day. I feel like I gotta budget a lot more this year than I did last year, and I did the year before that, and I did the year before that. And technically, dollar per dollar, I'm making more, which is crazy. But hey, that's what happens when you have greedflation and you have the richest of the rich controlling politics. But anyways, there goes my Monday afternoon ramblings. Let's get into the news with some NPR.
Not yet. I'm told by a U.S. official not authorized to speak that those Illinois Guard troops are now gathering in a central location, but they'll still need medical screening, personnel checks, training, and crowd control before they head out. So either later this week or next before they hit the streets in Chicago. Now, as far as the Texas troops, no word on that from officials I'm talking with about when or if they'll be on the streets.
Well, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says they won't be on the streets if he has anything to do with it. He says the Guard is not needed. He has filed a federal lawsuit to try to stop President Trump from sending the National Guard in Chicago.
See, it seems like
troops
the guys
are taken over by the Trump administration sent to Chicago for what the Souk says is, quote, flimsy pretext. Now, there are some protests in Chicago against ICE and its facility, and one carrying a weapon was shot Saturday morning by Border Patrol agents and later taken into custody by the FBI. Border Patrol said while on patrol, they were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. Now, Pritzker, he held a press conference today and talked about why Guard troops are not needed, that the local police can handle protests, and sending in the Guard will only undermine public safety and just inflame the situation. Let's listen.
There is no invasion here. There is no insurrection here. And local and state law enforcement are on the job and managing what they need to.
The only invasion is by ICE. They're the invading force. They're the ones causing trouble.
Also wants the National Guard there, again, he says, to protect an ICE facility and ICE agents. Where does that stand?
Right, well, a federal judge has blocked the deployment of working Guard troops to Portland, as well as another 200 Guard troops from Texas, still another 200 from California, and the judge cited the administration's rationale. In her ruling, it's called Section 12406, Title 10 of the U.S. Code.
What is Title 10?
Well, it says the president does have the power to take control of the state's Guard. It's called federalizing the Guard for 3 reasons. 1, an invasion or threat of invasion by foreign power. 2, a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the United States. And 3, the president is unable to execute the laws of the United States with the forces at hand, meaning, let's say local law enforcement. So, do the protests in Chicago and Portland rise to that level? The Trump administration says they do. Again, Pritzker calls it all flimsy. A federal judge in Portland agrees. So the bottom line, Mary Louise, no National Guard troops are on the streets yet, and we're off to federal appeals courts.
Just briefly, it's always helpful to look at...
If you look at the coverage...
There have been times in the past, right, when a president has taken control.
I'll make it quiet for a second. If you look at the coverage that Kat Abu-Ghazaleh has been providing for the Chicago ICE facility, the journalist and congressional candidate, and she seems pretty awesome, has some good ideas. The people starting the violence again, the violence at the protest at the facility is not the protesters. They're just singing. They're telling the ICE officers and personnel that they suck, and they're like playing music, and that's it. It's the ICE officers, the ICE personnel that are that are pushing people to the ground, that are attacking people, that are starting the violence. It's them. It is not at all the protesters.
I want to start with something that you wrote recently. You wrote that extraordinary crime.
Sorry, the crazy intersection. I gotta make sure I'm good. Sorry for that pause. But yeah, no, ICE is starting the issues. Like so many protests, it's not the protesters, it's the cops that initiate the violence.
Of the Bill of Rights. You have the right to be presented to a judge, to learn the charges against you, to get Miranda warnings, a lawyer, ultimately be tried by a jury before you're sentenced. Think of war. When you try to kill the enemy or detain members of the enemy if they can't fight, you don't have to have evidence, you don't present it to a judge, you don't go out and arrest people and give them a trial because you're fighting a foreign enemy that threatens our national security. So the most important problem is identifying who's really an enemy versus what's part of just a perpetual social problem we have.
I mean, arguably, illegal drugs and overdoses have killed way more people than terror attacks in the United States. Should that be part of the consideration? Do you think there's a clear cut, this is a standard crime, even if it has deadly effects, and this is a war?
You're definitely right. The harms that our country suffers from crime are definitely higher. I think last 2 years we've lost about 100,000 a year, maybe 200,000 every 2 years, just to fentanyl and other drug overdoses.
Yeah, but those are structural issues that can be solved without bombing random Venezuelan boats.
Does not define whether something's
especially when
a
lot of the times it's the U.S. government bringing the drugs in. If you look at the Reagan era and the Bush era.
Use the military to fight murders at home. Instead, I think what you need to see is a foreign entity that is using force against the United States because of a political agenda, because of disagreement with our ideology, to take territory for political objectives.
Is that, what to you is the main difference then between an international terrorist group like Al-Qaeda and a big drug trafficking group? Is it just the overall end goal that each of them has?
Yes, in part. So I was at the...
One trying to spread ideology, the other one's just trying to make money.
Face the question that we had faced the United States before, whether we could have a war against something that was other than another country. And we decided that Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups were much like a foreign country in the level of force they could use against us, why they used force against us for political reasons. I think that decision with drug cartels that are not connected, they're not fighting for Venezuela, for example, they're just drug cartels, don't pass that test because they are using force against us because they disagree with us politically, because they want to harm the country, because they have some ideological agenda. They just want to make money.
Yeah.
The Trump White House
They want to pursue capitalism.
between what it is doing here and what the Bush administration first articulated 20-some years ago, and what the Obama administration in many ways continued as policy.
Free market.
As you have seen
The freest of markets.
used in different ways. Have you had any second thoughts about standards that you and others put into place in the wake of 9/11?
I don't, and I'm not saying that we have perfect answers. We were under a lot of pressure on September 11th itself while we were suffering attacks from Al-Qaeda, but the way we thought about it was, can we ever use the military against something other than a nation? And look, there were a lot of people in Congress and in the academy and media who were critical of that view. And that's why we went to Congress, and within a week got an authorization to use military force. And we went to the Supreme Court when the very first detainees were captured out of Afghanistan, and the Supreme Court agreed. I think that's something that the Trump administration should do. If they because I think they're going out way on a limb, way beyond what we did. They're going to have to get Congress to agree, and I think that would then have a big influence on the way the Supreme Court will view it when these cases start to come up later this year.
That is John Yu, a law professor at the University of California, Berkeley. Thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Drug crimes is very much a social issue. Drug use, drug addiction. The people who are strongest against drug addiction and like recovering from it are people who have a strong social network to bring them out of it. They're able to get consistent housing, a consistent job, and consistent medical care, and a real purpose to get back to living a good life. It's not just stop taking heroin, stop taking amphetamines or whatever, and then boom, you're back to normal. Like there was something that pushed that person to use those substances in the first place, and it was probably because of the ills of society. It was probably because of poverty. It was probably because of hopelessness, economic issues, and they use something to try and feel better, to get their mind off of it, and it just compounded an already bad situation into something much worse. So if you want to deal with drugs, there are better ways. Removing the stigma from drug use, honestly, is probably one of the big first steps. Because drug users everyone is a drug user, right? Everyone drinks caffeine through coffee and tea or Coke or energy drinks. That's a drug. A lot of people use nicotine, whether it's a vape or a Zyn or a cigarette, or if you want to feel old time and fancy, a cigar and a pipe. A lot of people drink alcohol. It's less and less every year, which is great. Like that's a drug too. I don't know. Normalizing it isn't quite what I want to do, but just a better understanding of what these substances are. And once again, just making people's lives better by stronger social networks, essentially. And I don't mean that in the dumb movie about Facebook, right? It's people having the ability to get medical care that they need, right? Good pain management plans after getting surgery or after a workplace injury. Good unemployment programs or workers' comp programs, or just not losing your job after getting injured or getting sick. Being able to get a job in the first place, being able to get an education, doing something that gives you purpose in life. All these things, all these social safety nets for everyday people, and the ability to actually have some economic freedom, And as our system stands right now, economic freedom is only for the richest of the rich. It's not for everyday people like you and me. Yeah, because freedom is a lot more than being able to quit your job at any point, which is nice, I will say. Being a person who used to do contract work for the government, and by that I mean I was in the military for a very long period of my life, relatively speaking, because I am young. I'm in my 20s still, but having the ability, I can just quit my job, but can I guarantee I'll get a new job? Maybe not, especially with this current economy. That's not real economic freedom. And not having any real say in my company, that's not real economic freedom. The shareholders have more freedom and more say in what my company that I work for does than any individual person who actually, does the work, makes the product, puts in the labor. So that's another thing. It's just another thing. It can make people feel hopeless. It can make them turn to using addictive substances to make them feel better. So just take that in mind. But don't worry about me. I don't plan on doing no time soon. So, but we'll leave it there for the day. Just things to consider. I'm really afraid that this administration is going to use war on drug tactics of punishing people for their addictions and just murdering nationals of other nations under the pretense of drug trafficking to start a war, another forever war, but this time in South America instead of the Middle East. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, pretty not cool. But y'all have a good one. Stay dry. I know it's going to be probably rainy some more this week, but y'all have a good one.